Somebody was shitting on me the other day on Twitter. And they're like, if you're the rising star, you need to learn how to deal with haters like me. I'm like, no, I don't. Once you get to that scale, I feel like you need to prioritize your mental health like more than anything. You have thousands and thousands and thousands of people a day picking you apart, talking about how you are as a person. That's gonna you up. Whether you know it's like not true, it's still gonna you up mentally.
Welcome, everybody. If you're new here, welcome to the Visionaries podcast. My name is Jacob Wolf. I'm an award-winning investigative journalist who previously worked at ESPN. I was there for 5 years covering the gaming space and creators in esports. And I'm joined today by the recent Streamer Awards Rising Star of the Year streamer, Frogan. Frogan, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. We were reminiscing about our health before the show. Frogan just got LASIK. I just got arm surgery on Monday, or shoulder surgery on Monday. So it's been quite the week, I think. But we're hanging in there. We'll make it through the pod. It's okay. I did it last week with the show that was broken, or why my shoulder was broken, and Troy Baker was here, and I was just like trying not to wince on camera. It's like the hardest part. Yeah.
I don't know how you did that.
But I hung in there. He was a great guest. I was super happy. He's the voice actor that played Joel in The Last of Us and was also on the show. So yeah, let's dive into it. I would say we've had a couple different streamers here on the show in the past 7 or 8 months who are in this kind of crop of people that really started coming up through the pandemic. And it's always fascinating to me how many streamers have risen so quickly, so fast, and made this a career. And I would include you in that statement as someone who does pretty great numbers on Twitch and has turned this into your full-time thing. What was the start of that journey? Because I've heard bits and pieces of it from you talking about it, Hassan talking about it, other people, but in your own words, how did this start?
So whenever the pandemic started, I was still in school. But I was watching Twitch constantly. That was my way of feeling like I had a group of people while we really couldn't see anybody in person. I graduated in 2021 and I finally got a computer. Well, actually, I'd started streaming briefly in 2020. But once I had to start writing my thesis, I just stopped streaming because I was so distracted. And my advisor told me that if I don't make any progress, I'm not going to graduate on time. I just quit streaming. I wasn't really having any momentum then. It was 10 viewers. In the summer of 2021, that's when I started streaming consistently. I started in August and I was I'm playing games with my friends. I was playing Fall Guys, Fortnite, Splitgate. I was might as well stream it if I'm playing, the banter between my friends. And then in September, I went viral on Reddit because somebody was they're basically calling me a bad Muslim because I say bad words, and me reading it went viral on Reddit. And that's when I started getting the 75 concurrent, which is what you need to be partner on Twitch. And I was okay, I never expected to get this momentum this fast. But my goal was to get partner by the end of 2021. I applied for partner in October. I got rejected. Applied again in November 2nd. I got partnered. Hassan rated me and the number stuck. That's when I started getting 3-digit viewership. I started earning more money than I did as a researcher. And I was okay, maybe this is the start of my new career. Because it was a hobby of mine and it became a passion of mine, but I never thought content creation was something that would be feasible for somebody like me. And then I went full time almost a year ago to date. I put my 2 weeks in a year ago, a couple days ago.
Well,
I saw my
congratulations.
boss.
Yeah.
Thank you. My boss wanted to discuss my performance with the manager of my department. So I was streaming full time and working full time. So I do 40 hours a week streaming, 40 research, and I was just dead. And as soon as I saw that in the calendar invite, I sent my 2 weeks in and I haven't looked back. Now here I am.
I'm assuming the Reddit, the Reddit subreddit that you went viral on was live stream fails.
Yes. Yeah.
It's interesting. One of our first guests on the show was Maya Higa, who also went viral through live stream fails, and because she had a bird on, obviously now she's famous for being a conservationist, but she had a bird on her stream, and people were like, "What the hell? Why is there a wild bird on somebody's stream?" And it became like super clippable and shared around. That's like live stream fails at its best is when it puts somebody on, in air quotes, helps somebody build their career. At its worst, it's like a cesspool of harassment and belabors people and makes people's mental health sink. Walk me through a little bit of the dynamic of that, and especially experiencing it so early in your career too, because I feel like a lot of streamers have probably gotten criticism from somewhere else before they get it from live stream fails. So that dynamic, I'm sure, is interesting.
I personally don't look at live stream fails because, I've read, I've used to read it, whenever I get posted on it, and it was, nothing but, rude comments. I just stay off of it. I feel like with LSF, they try to find bad things about people, especially people that aren't the ones that are consistently posted. So I don't read it because it literally is just like a cesspool of hate. I will admit that LSF has helped so many people come up as a streamer. Like Squeaks. Squeaks is a friend of mine. He does speedrunning. He made it on LSF, and they're nice to him, and he's such a good person. So I see people like him benefiting from it. If you're a streamer, don't read LSF. if you care about your mental health, do not read LSF.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of a little bit of a recipe for disaster. Yeah. I don't know. And it only got worse during the pandemic. I feel like it's not like it was new. I remember that subreddit before the pandemic also, and it got progressively worse because I think the way you were explaining how you got more into the streaming community as a viewer, you were not alone. There are a lot of people that that is their story as a viewer, which means the just size of people that were watching these online entertainers just grew.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious how you think that growth through the pandemic changed the dynamic of streamers, because for you, obviously going from viewer to streamer itself and then making this your career, but also, it really did, I think, change the way that streamers interact with audience too, more broadly.
I feel like throughout the pandemic, we've heard an increase of the use of the word parasocial. And I feel like because of the nature of the pandemic, a lot more people have become more parasocial, whether it be from the viewer to the streamer or streamer to viewer. Because we were in such a long period of time where we really didn't have that human interaction, person to person. As a viewer and as a streamer, you turn to the people you meet online or the people that are in your chat, and you talk to them, and you have the consistent conversation with them and people there with you daily. So I feel like because of the pandemic and streaming, a lot more people have become more parasocial.
From your experience, have you had weird interactions with that where people are trying to participate in your life in a way that's not normal?
I was talking about this a few days ago. For me, there's a line, but I can't define the line until it's crossed. And when it's crossed, I'll be able to check them hey, this is not okay because XYZ, you don't know me, I don't know you, I'm just a streamer and you are a viewer. But yeah, I'm very good at checking people whenever they do cross that boundary, even though it's not a set in stone one, but it's whenever it's crossed, you're just okay, yo.
I think what's difficult too, as a Twitch streamer in particular, is that you're almost incentivized not to correct the behavior, right? That most hardcore fan is the one that's going to monetarily support you in some meaningful way, right? And so by you correcting them, you may lose some money, right? If they're screw you, how dare you talk to me that way? But that doesn't fix the problem, right?
Right.
It generally, genuinely can become unsafe at some point as well if it starts getting in person or stalking or whatever it may be. Do you think about that, the balance of okay, I have to correct people from this line, but also it can hurt my bottom line to do so, especially given that you're still very much on the come up and you've not reached the point where it's just the money is so big that every the dollars don't matter anymore, right? I would be curious to know about that.
Yeah, honestly, I don't really think about the monetary aspect of things when it in terms of my comfort. Honestly, if they make me uncomfortable, I don't want them in my community. They could keep their money, I would rather feel comfortable as a streamer within my career, because at the end of the day, it's one person and I have a community of people that respect me as a streamer and as a person, and they know those boundaries. So if they don't want to participate in the community anymore, I really don't care. Like, and the thing is, I'm like, you know what? Like, God forbid, like this all like ends tomorrow. I have a backup plan. Like, I have my master's. I could go back into public health.
But I'm assuming you don't want to.
I don't. I don't. But I'm just saying, like, worst case scenario, like, let's say, like, shit hits the fan, like, everything's on fire, and I don't have a platform anymore, and I lose all my viewers and subs and, like, my community. Like, I have that backup plan that a lot of other streamers don't have.
And what is the best part of this job, then? Like, what makes you want to stay and do this? Like, what is the most rewarding part of it?
So I love being in control of myself, and I love talking to people. Within public health, I talk to people, but only within like the professional aspect of things. Sometimes on my stream, I do public health, and I love like the educating aspect of it too, because I'm certified in health communication. And I picked it up because I saw how bad the U.S. government was doing at like communicating COVID related issues. And I feel like being on Twitch and having a bigger platform than most streamers, having that platform and being able to communicate information properly, it's such a unique thing that isn't really done through like government agencies or anything. So I feel like having that unique position makes it all worthwhile. And just like talking to people, I like being able to be a person that my viewers can come to if they have any question public health related. Like they have that trust in me.
And I think that's I wanted to dive into a little bit of that, the change of information on Twitch, right? Because, you know, I think I've watched Justin TV and then Twitch since 2011. So I've been around, you know, 12 years on that site in some regard. And, you know, it very much started as kind of, I would say, like three things, which was video games was one. Illegal streams was the other. Yeah, they frequently got in trouble for like having UFC events and WWE events and other sporting events like streaming on Justin TV. And then it was like sort of what I would consider to be what it is now primarily, which is just chatting. Like it was just people in their bedroom talking at a camera, still very new as like a, you know, as a thing to do and to make yourself that vulnerable. But then you know, when they pivoted to Twitch in 2014, in 2011, when they pivoted to Twitch and were specifically gaming, it became so much about games. And I think the pandemic, in a way, changed it back to being a lot more about chatting and a lot more about community and like finding your hub, right? Finding your people on this platform. That there's been some really interesting opportunity. I know you're friends with him, but Hassan is someone that I look at and I go like, I could not imagine a world where someone like this, the type of content he does, news content, etc., would have existed on that platform, watching people in their bedroom in 2011 on Justin TV. And it's fascinating. I think it's a net positive for generally, you know, I think that any way that you can educate people on, the world, like everything he covers, like it is good. And in your segment of that too, and being a public health expert and talking about public health as well, especially at a time where, like you said, it's so like rife with disinformation because of the pandemic. What do you think about how it's changed and being able to disseminate information in that way on a platform that not necessarily wasn't supposed to be for that?
So I'd watch Justin TV in 2009, like a very specific, like, bands I used to love when I was younger. The All American Rejects used to go live on Justin TV like once in a while, and I'd watch them then. I wasn't old enough to even be on Justin TV at the time. I watched that for like a year, but I started watching Twitch in 2018 when Hassan started streaming on Twitch. He was like my first introduction to Twitch. I didn't know what the it was. I never heard of this website before in my life. I saw him tweet one day that he was playing Fortnite, and he was like playing Fortnite while talking about politics. I'm like, okay, like this is like weirdly digestible. And like when I started watching him, he had like 10 viewers. It was like really early on. And then the election cycle, like everything blew up for him. Because I feel like a lot of people with politics, it's so confusing. And it was even confusing for me. The reason why I even got into politics was because of Hassan with the breakdown videos he used to do for TMIT. he used to make the information so digestible, like with all the terms and everything. So I was like, okay, I get this now. Now I know why this is bad. They're not this like jargon terms. So as I started to understand more, I got more into politics. So I feel like he translated what he did on TYT with the pre-recorded videos to doing it live. And I feel like a lot of people see him as a vessel of information, and he's so accessible where like you can literally just ask him questions, and if he sees it in chat, he'll answer it. And a lot of people like that like personableness, especially within like if you're actually trying to learn in good faith, like people appreciate that. And I feel like that's why it blew up, because it's like you have news that you can watch live, but you can't interact with the hosts and ask them questions. But Twitch,
it's like a two-way street. It's talking with your audience, not at your audience, right? Like that's the difference.
So combining the political coverage with that, and like being able to talk with your audience and have a conversation instead of like just spewing the information, I feel like since that was like such a unique thing, a lot of people started learning and gaining more interest in like leftist politics. That's why it blew up.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's because of his politics, because of Hassan's politics. I think he gets a lot of undue criticism that is not fair towards him. You know, like agree with him or not. I think that when you're on a website that has previously Aiden Ross and some others who like are espousing, you know, hateful ideologues, etc., and saying things about other people that are, you know, causing harassment, etc., Hassan is not the problem in that arrangement, right? And I would rather have him than I would that, you know. And I think like it's a net benefit. My point is, I think like I find on my reporting on these communities, younger communities, like call them 16 to 25-year-olds that are using Twitch, like they aren't particularly educated on the rest of the world, and so the being able to politically educate them, health educate them, any of those things is like, in whatever way you can do that, that is helpful. You know, because people aren't actively seeking out that information, but if they're just like passively getting it through Twitch, that's good for the world, at least in my opinion. And I don't quite get the critique of that. Maybe the critique of what's being said, but not the critique of the art, at least.
The way I look at it, I'm like, if one person learns something new from my broadcast, then my job is done. You know, if one person learns something new, I'll feel good. And I usually do polls, like whenever I do like the intensive public health, like, did you learn something new today? And it's usually over 90% yes.
In terms of the sort of being in the pandemic in that moment, you know, like being able to educate, what was the biggest challenge you found trying to kind of brush up people on what was actually happening and dealing with pandemic misinformation in particular?
So sometimes I get so frustrated whenever you have the people that come in that are like so far gone with the misinformation that they consume from like WhatsApp, Facebook, like the right wing media, that it's like talking to a wall. And I try to approach everybody that they're with like their good faith, like they actually want to learn. But as soon as you start spewing the talking points and you present them with like the data and the science that proves them wrong, and they still aren't going to listen to the point you're making, that's when I give up. I'm like, you know what? You do you. You want to die from COVID, you don't want to get a vaccine, that's on you. There's nothing else I can do for you. Because at the end of the day, like, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can explain. And the people that you're explaining to need to be like, they need to like be able to receive the information. And if they're so far gone with like all the conspiracy theories, there's nothing you can do. So that has been the most frustrating for me, because I want people to learn. I want people to be okay. And whenever they're just so far gone and they're just not listening and they want to argue in bad faith, I'm like, okay, I'm done.
At some point, you just have to like cut it off for your own sake, right? Like you're just kind of beating a dead horse a little bit there, if not. So, I want to talk a little bit about your career. You've now won this award. You've won Rising Star of the Year award, and you know, what did it mean to be recognized in that way? Because like that's sort of that entire room full of just like luminaries of people, incredible people that you know are in this industry. Walk me through it a little bit.
I was nominated last year and I had lost. Last year was a reflection of like 2021 stats and everything. I had just started streaming. I had been like doing well for 3 months at that point when I got nominated last year. And when I lost, I was like, okay, like I knew I was gonna lose, and I realized like I there was nothing for me to show for. But after quitting my job and going full time, I like worked my ass off the entire year last year. I never thought I was gonna even be nominated again. I genuinely didn't. So whenever I saw I was nominated again, I was like, okay, like this is insane. It feels good that there are people that see something in me, both my viewers, both other people within the Twitch community, other streamers that, especially ones that I look up to, that like not only like voted for me, vouched for me, nominated me. It made me feel good, because I do experience a lot of imposter syndrome. Like no matter what field I was in, whether it be public health, school, everything, I always had this like sense of imposter syndrome. So getting the validation from like my viewers, like the community on social media and everything, it felt good.
Congrats again too. I think it well deserved. Do you think Stans robbed you last year? I'm joking. I'm joking.
No. I know I made that joke, but no, I love Stans.
Stans is great. I messaged him after like before my surgery, and I was just like, how did you do this? Because he recently had shoulder repair done too, and I'm just like, he's like Hawaiian shirts and tank tops, and I was just like, all right, like I'll take your advice on this. So yeah, it's what a mess. But anyway, he's been on the show. Stans is a good dude. So I want to talk about like what's next, because I think that's really interesting. I watched your interview that you did a few weeks ago with the Sad Boys, and you were talking about not wanting to relocate to LA, but that you've thought about it a little bit, and you're based in Michigan. And I think that like I personally really do not like Los Angeles. I live in Austin. I'm very happy in Austin. I previously lived in New York, and I like love New York. I can go visit, but like the culture is just not so for me. So I'm with you. I get it. Like, and also cost of living is just not appealing at all. Neither is New York though, to be fair. But I think that there's this draw and this pull to be there in this industry, in particular in gaming and entertainment and creators, that like it sucks you in. So I'd love to like hear a little bit more of your thoughts. Like, why do you think you'll eventually do that jump? Do you think you'll stay in Michigan? And like, do you think it affects your career not being there too? I'd be interested to know. So
the way I describe it, I like to microdose LA,
That's a good description. Yeah.
Once in a while. So I know I'm for sure staying in Michigan for the next year. I'm moving soon, hopefully, to a different spot in Michigan. I feel like with Twitch, you are in such a unique advantage where you can collaborate digitally. Like I didn't have to come to Austin to see you for this interview.
Yeah, exactly.
I love traveling, so if I have any excuse to go out to LA for like a week, or Austin, because like Austin and LA are like the big streamer hubs, then I'd personally rather travel. But let's say an opportunity presented itself, like I got signed to an esports org or something on the lines of that, and I had to move, I wouldn't mind moving. I just need a reason to move, like force me out of Michigan. Because right now I like traveling to the places where like content creators are located as a vacation, or like if there's any events.
I feel that too. It's to me, it's always been just live near a major airport, and Detroit's airport is great. So
exactly,
yeah, you can get basically anywhere and everywhere. So I've flown through there so many goddamn times. But I think too, like, have you thought since winning this award the past couple of weeks, kind of like planning out what you want to do next? I find it really interesting talking to streamers about their goals and like how they think about their content and moving forward. I don't think you're like on the fall or like on the brink of being there, but like we had a really interesting discussion with Ludwig before he launched Offbrand about sort of what that was, building that career, building that fallback. And obviously you mentioned you have a public health degree, like you could go do something else if this doesn't work in the end. But like I'd be curious to know, like, when you're thinking about this, you're like, okay, I've won this award, I've achieved this, I've gotten to 500 plus concurrence or average concurrence on Twitch. Where do you go from here, and how are you thinking about that next stage in your career?
So I've been thinking lately about how to diversify my content and make it more original, because like React content can only get you so far, and I want So for me, I'm very like goal oriented, and I need to feel like I need to feel like I'm actually progressing towards something and have goals, or else I'm gonna like lose my mind. I like having like a checklist. So the last couple weeks, like after winning, I've been thinking of ways I can like make my stream more unique. Like Ludwig's, for example, he has so many like shows and like events he does that like draw people in. So I have an idea for a show I want to start on my stream. It's like bare bones in development in my brain, but I'm hopefully going to launch that within the next couple months. If it all works out logistically in my head. So I've been thinking about stuff like that. I feel like it's so important to just like not get comfortable with your content. And if you get comfortable, you're gonna stay where you are as a viewer, but I want to continue to grow. I want to be able to draw more people in by changing my content up a little bit.
And the interactive nature of that too, like I find that is like the untapped wall, right? Like I watch Ludwig's content, I watch like Austin Show's content, etc. Like they're just, to me, they're just barely chipping away at like what the next part of Twitch is, like where you go past, or what the next part of streaming is when you go past just being like chatting at a camera. And it's only just started to come down. Like how far do you think that goes? And like also I'd be curious to know if you think, like, to me it's like it's almost like going at some point to meet with traditional television. Like they're not all that different. They're going to become very similar in a lot of ways. And so I'm curious, like, how you do you take influence from other things outside of Twitch for this type of stuff?
Oh yeah. So Ludwig as a content creator is one that I look up to. He's like one of my favorite content creators, and one thing he said was the best way to do things is to steal it and make it your own. That makes sense. And like you can see the success he's had with it. But like you look at like you mentioned Austin and Will with like Name Your Price, Austin with Lover Host, XQC show he did with Ludwig was really good too. I forget the name of it. Was it like Juiced, I believe?
Juiced, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
that was
XQC,
really yeah, that was really good. And like even the one Ludwig used to do, and like all those, you look at it and the root of them all were a traditional television show from way back when we were younger. Just modernized and catered to the online audience. And look at how successful they all have been. We need to make everything cater to the internet nowadays. I feel like television is going to die, and it's going to be strictly like everything internet based, live streaming, anything.
I think the hardest part is monetizing it, right? Like it's so, that was the whole mission say behind Off Brand, is like you can't take a big swing if you're like not super wealthy, and like it takes some time to reach the scale, right? Like I'm sure like you have ideas that are just like out of your scope of being able to fund them because they're just so goddamn expensive, right? If you started doing like the math. So it's that's the hard part, right? It's like everybody wants content on the internet, and I agree with you. It's where it's gonna, like, everything's gonna live there, but like people don't pay for it. And I think that's the hardest part.
I do feel like platforms should put more like monetary investment into their creators that have these ideas, though,
I can't repeat all of them, but I've had discussions about that with some folks at Twitch, and I know that it's like original programming is something that's interesting to them. How they want to do it is not, doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense to me quite yet. But yeah, that's I think that's probably the most I can say. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's we're just barely scratching the surface, and I feel like at some point you got to find a way to, like, whether that be tickets or whatever it may be, like, you got to get people to pay for stuff. So like the cardinal sin of the internet is like everybody put shit on here for free. So now it's just hard to like draw that back. So one of the other things I wanted to cover was, you talked about imposter syndrome. I think the mental health of being a streamer is really, really tough. And the dealing with harassment of being a public figure is also tough. It's something I've dealt with a lot in my career too. And there's an additional layer there. You mentioned like one of the first things that you went viral for was someone calling you a bad Muslim. And I'm non-denominational white guy. I can't speak to this, but like I'd be curious the perspective of like being a woman in Muslim faith too. the increased harassment that puts on you and like how you deal with that mentally, because I'm sure it's not easy.
This is going to sound terrible, but I've become so numb to it that it doesn't bother me anymore. Like, for example, whenever the person was talking about how I was a bad Muslim, I thought that was so funny. And that was like the initial, I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, okay, like, you don't know me, but go off, I guess, sis. But in terms of like the harassment of like Islamophobia in my chat, it happens at least like twice a day, every single day. I have people come into my chat, go like, boom, or Allahu Akbar. And I'm just like, be original, like, at least spice it up a little. Like, I see this every day. If you're going to be like filled with hate, one, don't do it on a sock account. Two, be creative with it. Like, I'm so numb to it at this point that I'm just like, okay, like, try again, do something else. Doesn't bother me. But there are times though, like, where very, very rarely it'll like break through. Like, I'm a sensitive person. And there's like only so much I could take, I guess, as well. You know, like, it doesn't bother you, and then like, but the times
where it does,
it bothers me like when it's like super like influx. Like, there are times where like something happens and there'll be like an influx of like people coming in, like commenting on like my weight, how I look, me being a terrorist, quote unquote, doing like literally just like picking me apart as a person. I'm like, okay, like there's only so much I can handle. But for the most part, like when it comes in like this, like the little baby spurs of like a few times a day, I'm like, whatever. But when it's like an influx of things, I'm like, okay, like, but I don't really show it on stream. Ish. I mean, unless it gets really bad, then I'll probably cry. But like there are some days where I'm just like, okay, this sucks. But it never really got me to the point where I'm like, I want to quit.
Well, and you almost can't show it on stream. I think that's the hardest part about this. Is like you're just like giving people ammo to like shoot you with the moment that you break, because then they know that like, oh, I said this thing and it got to her, right? Like, and this is what she's sensitive to. This is the thing that breaks the wall, to your point, right? Like you have a thick skin, but like there are holes in that armor, and certain things, hit harder than others. I feel that too. Like, I'll get the occasional, like on Twitter, like fat joke or whatever. I'm just like, F you, man. Like, I'm like so like confident in the rest of my like my professional life and everything else. Like, I really don't care. But then like somebody will say something about, like not necessarily critique of the work, but like really nasty about the work, or like something that's like so painfully obvious. And it's just like, all right, like that like actually synced and hit a little bit harder. So but it's like, yeah, you can't show it. You can't. Because the moment you do, like the moment you lose your cool, it's like, now you're the bad guy. You've done the wrong thing. You've blown up on some like fucking, no name Andy in your chat. Like, you look like the asshole, and it's like, and it's not, you're not, but like it totally flips the script, like flips the script of what you have to do. So,
and like, you notice like it's always like people that don't have like profile pictures or like anything to say. I mean, like anything like identifiable to them, that are always like talking how you look as a person. And I've learned this on TikTok. Oh my god, I went like my first TikTok went viral after the Streamer Awards, and there's like literally a thread. Somebody called me pretty, and then there's like a thread of like 100 comments debating on whether or not I'm attractive. I'm like, damn, that's not the point of this post. It's literally me winning. I'm like, I don't care what you think. Like, you're literally like an enemy PFP, no like identifiable thing, and I'm just like, I don't give a what you think of if you think I'm cute or not or whatever. It's about me winning. Like, that's another thing, I guess, with my content. Like, my content, I don't like make my looks the forefront, which I'm not shitting on people that do. Like, by all means, you do you. But that's not the focal point of my content. I don't give a whether you think I'm cute or not.
And educate too. And I think like that's that's interesting. Does it worry you that if you get too big that it will become overwhelming? Because like I watched Hassan's stream like maybe a little bit more than a month ago, when the whole like soft giving charity thing happened. And obviously like to him, he's doing a really great thing, raising for the earthquake in Turkey and Syria. That's naturally like a good deed. And like they're, unbeknownst to him, apparently, like there's this layer to this company that people weren't aware of. And people were just like absolutely dogpiling him, even though he's not really not really a perpetrator of anything in this situation. I think like through that, I saw him like tweeting on his other account and talking about it publicly. that like even he is vulnerable to that.
Yeah.
You know, as successful as he is, does it worry you like if you achieve that level of scale that it just becomes too much?
I feel like I would find ways to manage it. You know, like Hassan, like he manages it in a way, but you know, I feel like you need to like once you get to that scale, I feel like you need to prioritize your mental health like more than anything, because you have thousands and thousands and thousands of people a day picking you apart, talking about how shit you are as a person. That's gonna f you up. Whether you know it's like not true, it's still gonna f you up mentally.
Nobody deserves that.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's almost like by you being public, by anybody being public, me, you, it doesn't matter. It's like we're almost in a weird way, they feel like we're inviting it. It's like, oh, well, you're putting yourself out there so I can critique whatever I want to critique.
That's what people say. Like somebody was shitting on me the other day on Twitter, and I blocked them and I like unblocked them. They're like, if you're the rising star, you need to learn how to deal with haters like me. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't have to subject myself to your harassment because I'm a streamer. Like this is one thing I think about a lot. I feel like a lot of people stop seeing streamers as like living people. They see you as like you're not like real. At the end of the day, like I'm a person. Like I have feelings. I have my own thoughts. People say sticks. Sometimes it doesn't. Like they like you being an entertainer becomes like your whole identity to them, and like they think that they could say whatever the they want to you with no consequences.
Is there no line between being Frogan and being Morgan? Like, is that line completely erased itself at this point?
No, I feel like honestly though, like online and offline, I'm fairly similar. A lot of like I've asked my friends about it, like the ones who like watch my stream and like we hang out in person. They just say I'm a lot more like quieter, toned down in person, you know. Which a lot of people, like a lot of your streamers that you watch are like they're not on. I feel like online and offline, like my personality is fairly similar. But I like having that divide where I have like my friends that aren't on the internet that know shit about the internet, but they know I like stream. They're like my breath of fresh air.
I cannot like belabor how important it's been to me to like have friends that I like don't work with or deal with in a professional aspect. Like the moment your entire circle becomes that, it's like this is exhausting. Like,
that's why I don't want to move to LA. Fault.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like
I love my friends. I love my friends in LA, but I don't want to be surrounded by content creators 24/7.
Yeah, and like you don't want everything to be content too. Mm-hmm. Like that's the other like not every piece of your life has to be in front of a camera, right?
Yeah.
It's I don't know how they do it. I don't know how like IRL streamers, people like Kaisanat and others that do that kind of stuff where like so much of their life is in front of a camera. I have no idea how they do it. I'd be exhausted. Like
I don't either.
So it's impressive, and I would also imagine like tormenting at the same time. In this weird way. If you had to set one big goal for yourself next, what is that? Whether it's like a certain viewer count or a certain type of content, what is that?
Can I just say my goals I set for myself at the beginning of the year? I want to get myself out there on all platforms. I want to become a content creator, not just on Twitch, but I want to upload to YouTube more, TikTok more, Instagram more. I want to be sure that I have multiple platforms with a support system and not just solely rely on Twitch. So that's one major goal I had this year, but it's been really hard. I've been working on it. I want my viewership to increase as well. Like it'd be great to be in the thousands and thousands and thousands of viewers, but it's hard to get to that point. It really is. I mean, yeah, that'd be a great goal, but for a more feasible goal, I want to start just like expanding my reach on different platforms, and maybe that'll bring the viewers in.
Yeah, it's hard. I think at some point, like you hit different steps, right? It's like, okay, well now I'm here consistently at this point with my content, with my engagement, with etc. Now, how do I get to the next thing? And like, there's not particularly a right answer. There's not a playbook to this, right? Like that's the hardest part. And everybody else's story is different, right? Like how you will do that is different from how Hassan or XQC or Ludwig or any of the others that have done that have done it, right? Like it's going to be different for you. There's going to be a different moment. And I think like I've experienced that too. I hate, at least in my career in journalism, I've had so many people tell me that like this, there's this like, oh, you got to reach this certain age or this certain moment to like be able to do this. And it's like, it's not though. Like I'm different than my peer. And other people are different from me. Like you can learn from other people.
Right.
You can take inspiration from other people, but you are your own unique person with your own unique trajectory. And I think it's really easy to get lost in that.
Like you said, there's no playbook. Like with public health, you have like, what is it? Like Glassdoor, you could read like descriptions of things on. You have like set in stone goals and everything. But when you become a content creator, you're just like, okay, like I'm out here on my own. Very few people have the privilege of having like a mentor. Like Hassan has helped me with like so much streaming, like things behind the scene that people don't know about. Like not many people have that. Like somebody successful giving them advice to do that. And I feel like more streamers, like successful streamers, should be willing to offer that to like the up and coming people. Like, I used to not know shit about like sponsorships or like managers or any of that. Nobody has that playbook. I didn't know if I was going to be scammed or not. I didn't know the going rates of things, and I still don't. Some of the time, you get that from talking to other people. There's no set in stone like thing online where you can be like, okay, like you have this many concurrent viewers, like this is what you should be getting paid.
There's like a self-preservation perspective to that too. I think is like people they don't want to give you the playbook because they think it will hurt you, right? Like they want to give you the answer because they think it will hurt them. If they give you something away, then like, oh, maybe you'll catch up to them and like take their spot. I hate that.
It's like the pre-med mindset.
Yes. Yeah. It's like dog eat dog, and it's like everybody thinks everything is Game of Thrones. Yeah. Not everything is Game of Thrones. It's not that like not everybody's trying to stab each other in the back all the time. Like
the way I look at things, like if I'm eating, my squad's eating too.
And there's enough space for everybody too.
Right.
Like it's like how many people use Twitch? It's billions of people that use Twitch. Like there's enough users to go around for everybody, Right. Like it's why I laugh at the really stupid argument that like hot tub streamers are ruining Twitch because they're pulling from all the other people, and it's like, dude, the person that watches like a hot tub streamer doesn't want to watch you like playing video games in your bedroom. Like, they are two different people with two different priorities in their lives.
It's like you didn't have those viewers anyways. I'm gonna say it. I feel like people just hate women on Twitch.
They do 100%.
They just hate women on Twitch.
And I feel for like Amaranth and others in particular too, because like some of the like Amaranth's so smart. Hearing her talk about like her career, like when she did an interview with Devin Nash probably about a year ago. And it's just like so insightful. Like the wall comes down. You want to talk about people being characters, right? Like she's a little bit of a character in her own way. Like, but it's an amplified version of herself too. But like you start getting her to talk about like the business of what she does and how she does it. That woman's brilliant. Like
she's
just
so
absolutely
smart.
But there's a lot of underlying like hateful biases in the Twitch community and on Twitch that come through, and people talking about like, you're a bimbo or whatever, and it's just like, no, like shut the up, please. Like it really does bother me. People do hate women on Twitch, and there's not a solution like that. I think that's the most like, other than just like normalizing, right? Like that's like that's the most exciting part about you and about like other people talking about like their faith and presenting themselves as they want to. Like it's just make it normal. Just make it normal, just like anybody else. That's the best part about it, right? And that's all you can do. Because you're not going to change somebody's mind. What we were talking about earlier, you're not going to change somebody else's feelings. You just have to make it normal. So Sammy did have a couple of questions she did not want to ask herself, so I'm reading for her on these. One of them was, if money, resources, and time were not an issue, what is one thing you want to do as a part of your streaming career?
Ooh, okay. I feel like traveling the world and like doing IRLs like all over the place would be so sick. I had friends that like did IRLs in like Turkey. Imagine going to like a different place a week, just like showing your chat the world with your friends. Like the ultimate collab, like. Or another thing I thought about was like, imagine like a streamer version of the real world.
That would be really cool.
Wouldn't that be sick?
Yeah.
Or like a streamer version of Big Brother.
we do some work at Overcome with an agency that reps a guy that is a YouTuber, and he's been doing like a European soccer tour, which is kind of fun. So he's like going to like all different like soccer events and matches and making a content series at each thing. Like it's really cool. Like yeah.
I just thought of another one. I love concerts. I feel like doing like a whole like series or stream, just following a tour around the entire like tour would be so sick. It'd be fun for me, but it probably wouldn't be fun for the viewer.
Is there a musician you'd want to follow?
Oh my god. So Big Time Rush is my favorite band, but they're so I love them. I love Big Time Rush. I've seen them like I think 8 times at this point in my life.
Oh my god.
But there are some bands that I've seen like 20 times. If they're in my city or like within like a 3-hour radius, I'm gonna be there because I just love music so much. So that would be so sick.
That is the origin of Justin Toofy, you know, like is Justin Kahn just like, you know, being in like normal situations as a streamer. So it's like I love that everybody's like ideas have come back around to that, because like that's, you know, stuff like that, like following a tour is like something you don't get a normal experience.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll end on this though. Sammy's other question was dream collaboration. If you could collaborate with anyone, what who would it be and why?
Okay, you're gonna laugh. Like, so lately when people have been asking me that, I've been saying Big Time Rush. Like, I want to get them on my stream so bad. I just want to do like an interview with them. I feel like it'd be like a full circle moment for me. But in terms of streamers, like I feel like Pokimane. I don't game a lot, but I'd want to play like Fortnite with her. She's just such a nice person.
Difficult. I feel like that's not that difficult to arrange. You know what? After this pod, I'm going to help you try to arrange that. Okay, like I promise. I promise. That was not hard. That like Pokey's really cool.
She's so nice.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, that's fine. I know her people. I'll sync you with her people. I promise. And try to make that happen, because that's not hard. I was expecting like some crazy like. I mean, Big Time Rush would be pretty cool, but I was expecting like something crazy. Like Pokey is totally achievable. Come on.
Well, define crazy. Who do you think I was going to say?
Maybe not just like a streamer, but like huge YouTuber or something, like, you know, that's like super difficult scheduling wise, right? Like
YouTuber? Okay, you're gonna laugh at me. Mr. Beast.
That's fine. That's
I
fine.
love Mr. Oh no, I'm lying. Noel Miller. You said YouTuber Noel Miller is one of my favorite YouTubers ever. So I feel like if I ever did a collab with Noel, I'd probably like throw up. Because he's like really funny, and I don't know, I feel like dead. Collabing with Noel would be cool. A full circle collab for me would be like Dan and Phil. I don't know if you remember them.
Yep.
Because I used to watch like Phil live stream on YouNow in like 2012.
This is taking me back. Like images popping in my head of that platform too.
So yeah, like Dan and Phil, Noel, Pokey, Mr. Beast, Big Time Rush.
I have a big list of people to chase. All right, I want the Big Time Rush Frogan stream to happen.
Maybe.
Please. You need to figure out who their agent is. And, like,
I did. They're ignoring. I emailed them asking, and they ignored me. So.
Oh, come on.
But maybe now that I won.
Yeah, now you can be like, I'm an award-winning streamer, Frogan. Answer my fucking emails.
Right.
Anyway, thank you so much, Morgan, for joining us. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We will be back next week, so if you've enjoyed this, you can stay tuned on the Overcome account. Give the account a follow, and we're live every single week. We'll be announcing guests here in the next couple of days, so thank you very much. Thank you, Morgan, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching Visionaries on YouTube. For more content, please subscribe to the Overcome channel.